by the murder in cold blood of Charlie Kirk, while at the same time, I refuse to sit around and make him. MAGA is descending into complete psychosis. It is unbelievable, you guys, that all of the projection that they are putting onto the left, all of the lying and the gaslighting, because we're not responding the way they want us to. We are horrified and traumatized by the murder in cold blood of Charlie Kirk, while at the same time, I refuse to sit around and make him into being something he wasn't. This man was an unrepentant, unapologetic racist. And why are they doing all of this stuff? Why are they acting so insane? Well, it's because their cult leader, Kanks, knows that they're not smart. Play the clip.
Some people don't like me, you know, and they don't like what we talk about.
They're so stupid. He just insulted everybody in that room, and they died laughing. And this is true. He polls and votes. He polls very well with the poorly educated. And this is a huge problem when we can't look at the facts of what is happening here. And I'm just going to tell you guys right here, right now, I trust 0% of the information coming out of cash money to ching ching FBI. I mean, this is a joke. Pop this up, Kylie. So Fox News reported Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin lived with transgender partner who is now cooperating with FBI officials. And then the FBI director retweets this. Mehdi Hassan notes, totally normal thing for the FBI director to tweet out a screenshot to a Fox story quoting FBI sources, wonder who, instead of putting out an official statement of his own on the current status of the investigation into Kirk's killing. So let's review here. They started out immediately before this guy's dad, the shooter's dad, turned him in. Immediately they started, this is left-wing violence, the left-winger murderers. Then they were like, and probably trans. And then they're like, oh, the bullets are trans. And now they're like, oh, the roommate's trans. But the roommate's fully cooperating, but the shooter isn't cooperating. This is complete insanity. The majority, by the data, by FBI agents that aren't beholden and blindly obedient to the cult leader Trump, 75% or more of most of this domestic terrorism and violence comes from the right. And I'm not going to be lectured by right-wingers that have celebrated January 6th as though it's the 4th of July when cops were beat up and killed and they broke into the Capitol. Do not lecture us on political violence. It is insanity.
What drives me crazy is when I hear people on the right say, well, people need to tone down the rhetoric. The rhetoric is the problem. The problem is the President of the United States is the chief rhetoric officer. When they say, well, you shouldn't call Donald Trump a fascist. He calls everybody a fascist. Kamala Harris. He's the one that talks about firing squads for Liz Cheney.
Well, let me just say this. His own vice president, who engages in gender ambiguity, is a failed drag queen who called Kanks Hitler. Yes. So come on. All right. But here's the problem with the right. Laura Loomer has slept on it, and now she's all in with the dictatorship. Put up the tweet. I was thinking about this over the last few nights while I couldn't sleep. I have to say I do want President Trump to be a dictator. The left thinks he is. And I want the right to be as devoted to locking up and silencing our violent political enemies as they pretend we are. You guys, they are using this horrific murder of Charlie Kirk to use to erode civil rights, period. You have so many examples of, like Governor Abbott saying, I'm a free speech absolutist. And now they're celebrating people getting fired. I read on some of these people are posting. I went to church yesterday and my pastor didn't talk about Charlie Kirk. They are out there nanny, boo-boo, tattletelling on anybody who isn't in the fetal position over Charlie Kirk's death. And let me explain what nuance is for you guys. I saw the shooting, sadly, on Twitter. It was awful. I hate guns. I want gun control. I don't want people to get shot on campuses or in schools. At the same time, Charlie Kirk himself said that deaths are something everybody should accept. so that people can have the Second Amendment. Furthermore, I'm completely offended and appalled that the NFL, which is dominated by elite African-American athletes, they are having moments of silence for a man who was an unrepentant, unapologetic racist. And here's all you need to know. You can oppose political violence and at the same time oppose the messaging of Charlie Kirk. And I oppose it. And I just think that the whitewashing of who he was is really interesting, because you don't have, usually when somebody of high stature like this involved in politics died, they play clips and clips and clips of their messaging. You don't see that right now. So in that void that you can't announce all of the things that he said and play quotes, you have people rushing in to say you're not sad enough, and this preacher didn't do it. I saw one tweet where a lady was like, I'm at the Chase Bank and on Main Street and 2nd, and this flag is not at half mast. And I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Well, what strikes me is just so unbelievably beyond the pale. Donald Trump did not want to lower the flags for Jimmy Carter, who is the president of the United States. Check me if I'm wrong. Charlie Kirk was a political activist on the right, but he did not hold an office. He was not an elected politician. He was a commentator, an influencer. It is so strange to me that people are acting like we need a moment of silence in Congress for Charlie Kirk.
I wouldn't even say that Charlie Kirk was a political activist. I would say he was a political agitator.
I think that's probably a better term.
And, you know, and again, for everybody to understand, you can hold two things at the same time. I do not like guns. I do not like people getting shot, even people with whom I disagree with. I don't want those people violently shot. I oppose it with everything in me. At the same time, I'm not going to go along with this narrative that they have completely made up out of thin air, that the left is the party of murder and that we want people getting shot. We don't. We want you to have health care. We want the minimum wage to be raised. We want billionaires to pay their fair share. We're tired of the entire country getting lied to so we can prop up the 1%. And the Atlantic did an article that I think is rather interesting. Jonathan Chait is the author of the article, and he says conservatives hunted for a Democrat endorsing Charlie Kirk's murder. They found none. Instead, they created an alternate world in which it was so, and put up the headline, leading Democrats are condemning Charlie Kirk's murder. Why is the online right having such a hard time recognizing that? And I would say it's not that they're having a hard time recognizing that. They are exploiting the murder of Charlie Kirk to advance their agenda to erode democracy. And I just want to remind everybody, Charlie Kirk, white man, shot by a white man who had a white man of a roommate, who had MAGA family members. They say, oh, he got radicalized at a university. He went to Utah State, which I've never heard anything about. I don't think it's some hotbed of liberalism, Utah State, for one semester. And then he's been in a trade school studying to be an electrician. So they, at every turn, they are trying to somehow make this guy, this white guy from a MAGA family that's steeped in gun culture. What can we do? Can we gay him up a bit? Can't really blame black people because Utah is pretty white. And so here are the white men in Huntington Beach, California, losing their minds over this. And I want to remind everybody, this is white on white crime. Play the clip.
White man! 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 Keep going! Our home! Take back our land!
Okay. White man, fight back. Take back our home. Take back our land. This is white on white crime.
Right.
And this video is exactly what former FBI officials, even Christopher Wray, who was Trump's appointee in Trump 1.0, said is one of the biggest problems in America is right-wing Christian nationalist white supremacist views. And here they are marching with their hoods on and their Jesus flags and their American flags, somehow claiming to be the victims of this white on white crime. The shooter lived in a 6-bedroom house in Milk white America. He went to university for 1 semester. I don't know if his roommate was trans or not, but according to officials, if the roommate is trans, he's completely cooperating with the FBI while the shooter is not. And I think all of this messaging and all of this stuff of the bullets, there's a whole world that I'm not qualified to talk about. I had to call my son, who is a gamer, who's 22 years old, to explain to me about all of this meme stuff. This shooter didn't watch Meet the Press. He didn't watch iHip News. He doesn't watch CNN. He didn't watch Fox News. So you have all these people that don't even know what this world is, and they use memes ironically and unironically and all of these things. But then we have AI that can come in to help us decipher stuff, right? So Elon Musk has set up Grok and put this up. Somebody, Brett Mysalis, I want to say, he pointed this out. If your ideology isn't backed up by the facts, I promise you it's not the facts that are the problem. So Grok says to somebody on Twitter, on stats, ADL data shows 75% of U.S. extremist murders from 2013 to 2022 by right-wing actors through sources like CSIS note rising far-right threats, while Cato emphasizes overall rarity and includes other ideologies. Definitions of political murders vary across studies. Elon Musk, who has been riling up, trying to dismantle democracy in the United States, and now he's on to Europe, says, my apologies, we are fixing this cringe idiocy by Grok. So what does he do? Grok's going to get another lobotomy.
Right.
Because facts do not align. That's why the Atlantic had to do a story that they're making this shit up, that the left wing is the party murder. We're for fucking gun control. When people get shot in schools, we actually care about it. We want to do something about it. We don't just roll on. When a shooter went into Pulse nightclub and shot gay Americans who were out dancing for the night, they got to put up a rainbow flag to memorialize this horrible murder. What does Kitten Hills, Ron DeSantis do? And all of the racist, homophobic right-wingers, they paint over it. So don't tell me, don't lecture me on what I can and cannot care about. I condemn all gun violence across the fucking board, but I refuse to be a part of this narrative that Charlie Kirk was promoting a better society when it is just shame on every NFL team that makes all of those African Americans that Charlie Kirk spoke out against their culture, against their personhood, against the Civil Rights Act, demeaned Black women all the time that birthed these athletes. You make them stand there and have a moment of silence for an unapologetic, unrepentant racist beyond the pale.
It is so gross how everyone is acting. I want this level of outrage for children that are shot in their schools. I want this level of outrage for the Minnesota lawmakers. I want this level of outrage across the board to then lead us to gun control. But the only thing I've heard in response to this, it's the radical left Democrats, even though it was a white guy deep down the right-wing rabbit hole. They still are not talking about gun control.
Well, absolutely not, because all of these politicians are beholden by the NRA, all of these white Christian politicians. And here's the thing. Obviously, all of these people that are in the fetal and out playing nanny, nanny, boo-boo, hall monitor, tattletale believe and agree with Charlie Kirk and all of the horrific stuff he says. But it's hard to take the right wing seriously when the response to Charlie Kirk's death is the exact same response as Cracker Barrel relogo, rebranding. So, I mean, this is insanity, but this is a 911. They are going to use this. They're making lists of liberals, and they're going to use this to erode our civil rights. All right, that's all we have for this episode. We'll see you all later today with more news.